Hey, welcome to the Tony Scott Internet Show. I'm Tony Scott. Good morning to you. Yeah, I know, early, but hey, we're here together. We're getting through it. I got to congratulate my Maria, my youngest daughter, my 15-year-old. Man, she started high school. She's a JV on the tennis team, but she spends most of her time playing with varsity. But even more important than that, Maria was studying for a math test over the weekend that she had to take. And she said it was going to be hard. And she was kind of worried about it. But a 94. I can't be mad at that. We'll be celebrating. I'm making a list of things we're going to celebrate as soon as I get back to work. So, get the income going and stuff like that. Of course, if you would like to support, you can by being a patron of mine. Patreon.com is like a website. And it allows people to become patrons of someone who they, really are feeling their content, their material. And then, as a client of Patreon, you can actually set amounts. And my lowest amount is asking you for support is $2.99 a month. And for $2.99 a month, I can do some things provided enough people become patrons on Patreon. So you go to Patreon, Patreon.com/Tony Scott Media. I know it's early. I'm already asking you for money. I know. I'm moving on. I just wanted to throw that out there. So the United States started bombing ISIL targets in Syria last night. Had everybody wondering, are we going to war? Are we at war now? Is that the deal? Should we keep our children home? Because, there was talk a couple weeks ago that there are some ISIS cells in this country. And, I got to be honest with you. I thought about it for a second, but then I thought maybe I was overreacting. But the airstrikes have begun in Syria on ISIS. What that means, I guess, is still to be found out because it only started last night, but I'll keep my eye on it for you. Ferguson, Missouri, had their first town hall meeting since Michael Brown's murder at the hands of a police officer, Darren Wilson. And they were filtering those that they were letting into the town hall meeting, though. And I can understand that because they wanted Ferguson residents to go in there. So you had to show proof that you were a resident of Ferguson before they let you in, is what I was told. Which I'm cool with that because it is about Ferguson. I mean, in the bigger scheme of things, it's a movement on a worldwide level, as we found out. But for right now, it has to be that way. Patricia Bynes, a friend of mine who's the Democratic committee woman for Ferguson Township, says that the meetings were good. They were peaceful. People were very passionate. Not everybody agreed. Council members were answering questions that they could. Now, there were two meetings last night. The other one was with Ferguson Mayor James Knowles. And from what I'm hearing through social media, that one didn't provide a lot of answers. But who would expect it to? I mean, because Mayor Knowles is but a puppet, for the city of Ferguson. I'm just saying. Also, St. Louis, I don't know if you heard about, in Ferguson, I should say, the organization from California called We Cop Watch of California. This is according to the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. We Cop Watch of California raised over $6,000 and bought 110 body cameras. And they didn't buy them for the cops. They bought them for Ferguson residents, and they passed them out over the weekend and trained residents on how to use them. Now, the police chief of Ferguson says that residents are entitled to wear and use these small cameras. He says the officers have been told not to interfere with that right. He says a lot of people have been recording the police anyway on their phones, so, it's not a problem. So that's what they're saying. Now, last month, about 50 body cameras were donated by two companies to the Ferguson Police Department. So the goal is that if the cameras are on, and see, that's the thing, right? That really is the thing, because you can give these cops body cameras, but if they malfunction for whatever reason, well, then it's on, right? That's the thing. And how often, how much do they record? How I would like to know that. I'm sure there's a simple explanation. Is it wireless to a hard drive in the cruiser? How does that exactly work? It can't be wired to it, because then if they have to chase somebody, then, they got to take the camera off, and that defeats the whole purpose. So I would just wonder because I'm a tech geek to a degree, how that even works. But I guess we'll see. St. Louis County Police say they're sorry for the wording of a flyer that was announced in a seminar to help officers interact with the media. The flyer on county letterhead says topics of the October 24th program at the St. Louis County and Municipal Police Academy will include, quote, feeding the animals and, quote, meet the 900-pound gorilla. Some activists in the community and others posted about the flyer on social media. I saw it a couple of days ago, saying that the gorilla and the animals references have racial overtones. St. Louis County Police say the terms are not racial. I got to call because I'm not buying anything that St. Louis County Police, or for that matter, Ferguson Police, are saying. I'm just not. They've lost all their credibility with me. I don't trust them any more than I could throw myself. And trust me, I cannot throw myself. That's just me. I mean, you might feel that they're starting to earn some trust. I don't know. But for me, I'm not buying what they're selling. Of course, that was racially targeted. It's like they want to see what they can do to inflame the community. That's what they want to do. They want to start this up again because they want to show that black folks are savages. That's what they want to do. That's exactly what they want to do. And they'll throw it out there. And as long as people remain calm and call them out on it, you know, when people say, I ain't surprised, those people piss me off. You know, you may be a cool person, but when you say, I ain't surprised, that means that you noticed it, but you really don't care. I ain't surprised. You know, to me, it's like, shut the hell up with that, because that is enabling the police to run roughshod over a community, and we can't have that. We just can't have that. While we're in St. Louis, the municipal court in St. Louis City is going to grant forgiveness for anyone with an outstanding warrant. That actually started yesterday. It'll run the rest of the week from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., and anyone who decides to have their warrants forgiven will have to pay $35. However, by paying the $35, all active warrants will be canceled, no matter how long or how many you have. So I think it's not $35 per warrant. $35 should cancel all your warrants if you have more than one. I ain't saying you ain't got to pay nothing. Like after you pay them off, there will be a new court date issued. And anyone, if you have a warrant for a DWI or DUI or leaving the scene, you cannot participate in this. So don't even go down there, because you're going to get yourself in what you're trying to avoid. This goes until Friday between 8 and 5. So just so you know. And the East St. Louis Assistant Police Chief Ronald Ike resigned yesterday. He was suspended last month after a woman accused him of sexual harassment. He decided to quit yesterday after city officials shared with him the results of an independent investigation into the complaint. He had been with East St. Louis Police since 1996. So if they shared with him the information, that must have meant that it was not looking good as far as being in his favor. So he decided to cut his losses and move on. That's what I'm reading into it. Maybe I'm wrong. That's kind of how I kind of see it like that. But, you know, maybe I haven't talked to him, so maybe I shouldn't even say that. So, but that's how I saw it. All right. What else? We got some pop culture news, entertainment news to tell you about Lauryn Hill and one hip-hop magazine you won't see on shelves in stores anymore. Megan Good speaking about the leaked nudes. Also some sports to get to. And I don't know if you heard about the news reporter in Alaska who said, bleep it, I quit. I'll let you hear it coming up. It's the Tony Scott Internet Show, and I got more on the way right after this.
Do you want to reach an audience that you haven't tapped into yet and not blow your budget? The Tony Scott Internet Show is new, growing, and available to you. And you don't have to be the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, yes, or even eighth commercial in a commercial break like on the radio. Advertising on the Tony Scott Internet Show is extremely affordable. Contact us at advertise@TonyScottShow.com.
And we are back, the Tony Scott Internet Show. It's our second show. And I spent most of the day formulating how could I make it better than yesterday's show, but I got some great feedback from some folks. In fact, if I can pull one of those up, I think I might be able to share it with you because I thought it was pretty cool. Made me feel good. Made me feel like I was headed in the right direction. Let me see if I can get that up here for you so I can brag about myself a little bit. Let's see. My friend Melrick says that the show was good. I love your dialogue about the current issue, so I appreciate that. So thanks so much for that. Chris says, congrats on the new internet show. Do you plan on ever having a co-host again? Yeah, I mean, to me, absolutely. right now for the foreseeable future? Probably not, because I wouldn't expect anybody to work for free. I would not allow that to happen, because I wouldn't want to work for free, because I understand you got to get paid. And you want to get your foot in the door, and I get that too, but you still need to be paid. And right now I can't pay anybody, so I just push on is what I'm doing here. But thank you so much for the love. I appreciate that. Lauryn Hill got booed off the stage in London, and then they started heating her butt up on Twitter. I mean, they went in on Lauryn Hill, and Lauryn clearly has had some issues the last few years. She spent some time locked up on, was that a tax thing or something like that? But when Lauryn Hill has a concert, you never know what you're going to get. She's notorious for being late. And when people pay to see Lauryn Hill in concert, they're not paying $5 or $10 or $20. No, they're paying, man, it's up there a little bit. You know what I'm saying? At least, 60, 75, maybe even more to see a Lauryn Hill concert. And when you show up 90 minutes to 2 hours late, people get pissed off. I mean, I'm looking at some of the tweets. Ruby says, "Where's Lauryn Hill? 1 hour after scheduled time. Appalling." Hanal says, "Still standing, waiting for Lauryn Hill, only 2 hours late." Hodge says, "Waiting for Lauryn Hill for 3 hours and then been subjected to 6-second clips of classics, wobble dubstep, and a Bob Marley sing-along." D says, "I paid for a ticket for a DJ that asked which part of the USA the audience was from, and we're in London?" Come on, man. Spent 45 minutes being warmed up, Hanal says, by a DJ who then randomly left us with an empty stage. Hashtag Lauryn Hill. DJ has been taken over by the band. Hanal writes, the band aren't even trying to hype us up. They're just there to kill time because everybody's waiting on Lauryn Hill. And then they say the sound was bad. The sound at the concert was terrible. They say the engineers need to be fired, is what Sokaj says. Lucy says, Lauryn Hill, 90 minutes late, songs completely unrecognizable, sounded like the Chipmunks on acid at one point. Henry says, appalling acoustics were worsened by Miss Lauryn Hill's insistence on jazzy remixing of every one of her heyday songs. Hashtag upset. Rhonda says, I've seen 20 people leave already. She's doing X Factor remix. What a buzzkill. Hashtag Lauryn Hill. Just a lot of people complaining. Henry McKeewa writes, hashtag Lauryn Hill has been aborting all her hit songs live on stage, murdering hashtag doo-wop in a shrill wail remix. Man, Amy says, I've never tweeted this much from a concert. This is how upsettingly bad it is. Hashtag Lauryn Hill. Mr. Myden says, oh dear, hashtag Lauryn Hill. This isn't the first time. Waste of time to see such a talented lady. Amy comes back and says, I need a stiff drink at an after party. I'm depressed. That was horrendous. Hashtag Lauryn Hill. I mean, they were going in on her, man. And I know when she came to town one time, you know, she was a little late, you know, little being the relative term. What's late for some isn't late for others. But, you know, young people, they don't do anything on time anymore. And I'm generalizing, obviously. But it's not a big deal. I mean, I've had people who were my interns and stuff, and, you know, when I was doing radio, and they couldn't get to work on time. So I had to send them home. Because, I mean, it's a life lesson there. It's my job to teach you that if you're on time, you're late. If you're on, do you get that? If you're on time, you're supposed to be somewhere at 6 o'clock, whether it's a.m. or p.m., and you get there at 6 o'clock, you're late. Because at 6 o'clock, you're supposed to be ready to go. You're not supposed to be walking through the door. At 6 o'clock, you're supposed to be ready to grind it out, not walking through the door. So if you're on time, you're late. And if you don't get that, then there's really no help for you. I'm just being honest with you. That's just not good at all. I never knew what to call XXL Magazine. Is that what you're supposed to call it? I mean, the letter's XXL Magazine. I mean, that's the name that you see, but I don't know if it's supposed to be extra large magazine. I don't know, XXL Magazine, which has been one of the leading hip-hop resources for news and what's hot in music and all that. Well, after the October-November issue, they won't be printing any more issues. It's instead going to be a digital-only thing you can get on the internet. They got a new owner, Town Square, and they decided to take it in this direction. So that last copy with the eye candy fellas and all that stuff like that is one if you collect magazines, you're going to want to collect because there'll be no more print issues after that. And Megan Good is not happy at all. A lot of these celebrities, the latest roundup being Gabrielle Union, And yes, I saw the pictures of Gabrielle Union. And how about, who else was there? Rihanna. No, everybody's seen Rihanna naked already. It's no big deal. Kim Kardashian. She's up there naked, boobs out, everything, and, her butt shot and everything. But we've seen that already. So, but Gabrielle Union, we haven't seen, but now we've seen her bare boobies. And Megan Good spoke on the nude pictures. Now, I don't know if their phones are not being hacked. My understanding is that they're putting these pictures on iCloud or any cloud, virtual hard drive on the internet, on the interwebs. And people have these very simple passwords. And people who call it a career of hacking and stuff, they have software programs that they set up on your account, and then that software just runs through every combination. If you make it easy for them, then it doesn't take long, and then they've got all your pictures, and then they go through them, and that's how they get their pictures, your pictures, and they put them up. Who was that? Clay Aiken. Remember him from American Idol? He says that anybody who takes those pictures like that and puts them, on their cloud, they deserve whatever happens to them because they should know better. It's happened so many times. He makes a good point. Well, if you know this is happening, and it's been happening for a while, this ain't a new thing, then, don't put the pictures up. Delete them. Delete them. Don't put them out on the cloud or keep them on your hard drive and encrypt them so you have the password to get to them if you have to keep them. Megan Good says, I'm definitely in shock, saddened for everyone who is experiencing this. But I choose not to give the persons responsible my power. At the end of the day, we all know these pictures were for my husband. And at the end of the day, evidently, we all know how I feel about my panties. That's all I got, folks. Oh, yeah, and for everyone who's reposting the leaked nudes, you should be ashamed of yourself. You have a blessed day now. Well, okay, then. If you're going to, I don't know if you did FaceTime, I don't know if that, because you don't record that, right? It's not being recorded. If I'm wrong, tell me. Skype, there are programs that will record it, but basically, basic Skype, I don't think it records. There may be a feature to do that, but I think you have to kind of like turn it on. It doesn't do it automatically. I could be wrong. But the picture thing, it's there, man. Once you put it on the cloud, there's a great possibility that the world's going to see it. I don't know. I've never taken a suggestive picture. I mean, who wants to see me, who wants to see anything of mine? Nobody wants to see me. Come on, man. Even I know this. I know nobody wants to see me. Good news from the ballpark I tell you about. Monday Night Football last night. The Baltimore Ravens owner had a press conference that was epic in failure, I got to tell you about. And there's some audio from Shannon Sharp. Remember him from CBS? He's not on CBS anymore, but he was on CNN with Candy Crowley over the weekend, and I got to let you hear something of what he had to say about domestic violence and disciplining your children, which are two hot-button topics going on right now, given the circumstances of Ray Rice and Adrian Peterson. And we'll have that for you coming up right after this.
Do you want to reach an audience that you haven't tapped into yet and not blow your budget? The Tony Scott Internet Show is new, growing, and available to you. And you don't have to be the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, yes, or even eighth commercial in a commercial break like on the radio. Advertising on the Tony Scott Internet Show is extremely affordable. Contact us at advertise@TonyScottShow.com.
All right, we're back, and I'm Tony Scott. This is the Tony Scott Internet Show, our second show. And I mentioned earlier that the Cardinals just abused the Cubs last night in Chicago. I think the final score was like, I got it written down somewhere. Let me tell you what the score was. But what I didn't tell you was the magic number, I don't think. They won 8-0. So that means that the magic number now is down to 4. Magic number being any combination of Cardinal wins and Pittsburgh losses that total 4. And it means that the Cardinals win the National League Central, and I think they'll make the playoffs regardless of whether they win the division or not. They'll go in as a wild card. That's just me. And since we're talking about sports, again, Monday Night Football last night, the Bears 27, the Jets 19. They tried to make it happen, but they couldn't. The owner of the Baltimore Ravens, Steve Bisciotti, had a press conference yesterday that some are saying that was an epic failure. One of the things he's being criticized for, he said the NFL, if the NFL has a zero-tolerance policy on domestic violence, then it could instigate women into making false accusations about being a victim at the hands of an NFL player. So we should not have a policy because it's a possibility that might happen, so we shouldn't have any policy of zero tolerance. We should just let them off the hook. Players who abuse their women or abuse females, domestic violence, the aggressors, we should just let them off the hook like that? No. You know, if I were the commissioner, I would say, you know what? No one speak on this unless you hear from me. You know, I mean, he don't have much credibility. His press conference was pretty much a disaster. But Shannon Sharpe actually was on Candy Crowley, and he said something that I thought was very interesting about the commissioner, Roger Goodell, of the NFL. Check this out.
Domestic violence did not happen for the very first time, February of 2014. Ray Rice is not the first known abuser or batterer, whatever term you want to use with him. So for all of a sudden the NFL to try and resolve a societal problem, I think that's asking a bit much because that's not what the NFL was constructed to do. The 32 owners elected Roger Goodell to make them as much money as he possibly could. Now, in the process, sometimes through great adversity, great change can happen. And I hope that since this has become such a hot button issue, we can help society bridge the gap and help guys understand you can't do what you've been doing to women. You can't battle children. And the old way of thinking as far as disciplining your child, well, this is the way I was disciplined. We know that's not acceptable now.
Right.
As a child, I was left in a hot car for hours, but we know we can't do that now. You can't wash a child's mouth out with soap if he says a bad word. We understand that. So I think as we know better, we should be doing better.
That audio is courtesy of CNN, and in that interview, in that piece, he was on with Christine Brennan and another young man whose name, I should have written it down. I should have wrote it down, but I didn't. But so he was part of a 3-panel person with Candy Crowley. And Candy asked Shannon Sharpe, because she has to, she's a reporter, she asked him about his own situations involving allegations of domestic violence. And though his voice seemed to get a little deeper, maybe because it was a personal and serious conversation because it was about him, but he put it out there for what it was. Check this out.
Shannon, let me ask you something, because I know over the course of your career there had been civil complaints from women suggesting that you had been violent towards them. Yeah. Tell me where you believe, and there was also another issue after you post football that you were, the case completely dropped, etc. Tell me where you think the line is for the NFL. If you are charged with something, they say, okay, you're benched till you figure this out? Go ahead.
Candy, let me address those issues. And it's common knowledge. If you Google it or however you go about it, there are 10 complaints against me. 8 of those complaints were child modification. That was where my kids' parents wanted an addition to the money that they were already receiving. So there weren't complaints that I was battering someone. I had a very similar situation to what Adrian Peterson had. My son took something. I asked him not to do it. He did it anyway and took it to a place I told him not to take it. I asked him what he had in his pocket, and he lied. And so when I checked his pockets, I found what I shouldn't have found because I asked him to leave it at home. I spanked him. He called his mom. He told his mom I spanked him for no reason. She came over, and she ended up calling the cops, and the cops came out, and Atlanta PD came out. They didn't file a report. She said, he told her that Mr. Sharpe just wants you to leave his property. Well, she wasn't satisfied with the results she got. She ended up going to another entity, and then subsequently I ended up arrested. No charges were dropped.
Right.
But here's the thing, Candy. I get it. There's a very, very fine line between child abuse and discipline. And what's acceptable, when I grew up, What you did determined how you got disciplined and what you got disciplined with, whether it was a hose pipe or bull whip or a belt or a broomstick, extension cord. Switches were the least of your problems. But if you did something that my grandparents thought you deserved the harshest punishment, that's what you got.
So
now, I wouldn't change my background, but I understood that I had kids. There's no possible way I could raise them how I was reared.
That is Shannon Sharp, who was on with Candy Crowley over the weekend on CNN, at audio courtesy of CNN. And Shannon also asked to make the point about how, not everybody disciplines their children the same way, which I thought was a pretty interesting comment. I mean, I knew that, but his perspective on it was pretty interesting. Check it out.
One size does not fit all. What works for Isaiah kids, and Christine, if you have kids, what works for them? Maybe you can sit them down. Maybe you can put them in timeout. Maybe you take away their favorite toy. That might not work for my kids. So to say, well, this is the only way you can discipline, by giving timeout or taking away their favorite toy, that's not right. And the reason why people try to stay out of other people's home is for that very reason. That's why domestic violence has gone on so long unmonitored. That's why the abuse situation has gone on so long unfettered, because people really try and stay out of other people's homes.
That is Shannon Sharp, formerly of CBS's NFL Today. He was him and Dan Marino were replaced by Tony Gonzalez and Bart Scott this season. And Shannon says he was sad and disappointed that he was replaced, but he's grateful to CBS for giving him the opportunity. I think he'll be on probably NFL Network, or someone else will pick him up, because he's pretty good. He was pretty good on that show. So hopefully we'll see him again very soon. This is the Tony Scott Internet Show, and coming up, you know the name Charlo Green? Charlo Green sounds like a pimp, doesn't it? Charlo Green. But it turns out Charlo Green was a TV reporter in Alaska. Have you heard about this woman? She quit on the air. She actually cussed on the air. And I'll let you hear that and tell you about the story coming up after this.
Do you want to reach an audience that you haven't tapped into yet and not blow your budget? The Tony Scott Internet Show is new, growing, and available to you. And you don't have to be the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, yes, or even eighth commercial in a commercial break like on the radio. Advertising on the Tony Scott Internet Show is extremely affordable. Contact us at advertise@TonyScottShow.com.
All right, we're back. Tony Scott Internet Show is on. Show number 2. Excited to be doing it. It felt really good to get the first one out of the way and getting the second one on. And again, your support has been great. The comments so far, Anthony Norwood, Andrea Hubbard, Meldrick, everybody who has sent me emails and posted on Facebook and shared and things like that. I cannot begin to put it into words how much that's appreciated. And actually, it's needed. What a lot of people don't understand is you sharing, giving it a thumbs up, things like that, reposting it. It goes a long way as far as support that you get from like Google and stuff like that, because the more shares and things like that has a lot to do with how you rank in search results, which makes it more popular, which gets more listens, which allows me to put it in front of potential sponsors and says I have this many. And right now sponsorship opportunities are very wide open right now because we're brand new. You've heard me play the announcement. You're going to get sick of hearing it. I'll change it up, but it's the only way to survive is to have some sponsors, and I'm offering some pretty good introductory packages that will not only include the Tony Scott Internet Show, but it'll also perhaps put you in the Talking 360 newsletter, and maybe even some sponsorships as far as some of my YouTube shows go. So if you're interested, advertise at TonyScottShow.com is the email address. Not as expensive as you think it is. I'm not trying to blow your budget. So Charlo Green is a former TV reporter in Alaska who was doing a story. My understanding, like for the last 4 months, she was doing a story on legalizing marijuana in the state of Alaska. And in her story, she was talking a lot to the Alaska Cannabis Club, which she didn't tell the TV station. That's actually, the Alaska Cannabis Club is actually a club that she owns. And I guess she finally decided that it was getting a little too hot, so she decided, which I kind of find it funny that she's talking about weed and her last name is Green. But she says, now everything you've heard is why I, the actual owner of the Alaska Cannabis Club, will be dedicating all of my energy toward fighting for freedom and fairness, which begins with legalizing marijuana. And as for this job, well, not that I have a choice, but she says, but F it, I quit. So now that I've said that to you, let's hear it.
Now, everything you heard is why I, the actual owner of the Alaska Cannabis Club, will be dedicating all of my energy toward fighting for freedom and fairness, which begins with legalizing marijuana here in Alaska. And as for this job, well, not that I have a choice, but I quit.
All right, we apologize for that. We'll be right back. Pardon for us. Meanwhile, the Vote Yes on 2 campaign held a fundraiser last night with Gary Johnson, the CEO of one of...
Now, she did say F it, but I'm not going to play that part, so I flipped it. I put it in reverse and all that, so I didn't want to play it. But, she did say the F word, and that's why the news anchor, when they put the camera back, on her, and then she was like, we apologize for that. They should have just went straight to break. Don't throw that on the anchor is just as thrown off as everybody else in the building. Why would you just throw it back to her? Go to commercial, man. I mean, come on. Now, needless to say, Charlo Green's broadcast career is over because no one is ever going to hire her. Not a TV station, not even in Paducah. She's not going to get a job anymore because she virtually just ended her career when she said, F it, I quit, on the air, on purpose. Was she high? Was she high? I mean, I'm sure your parents are so proud of you, the education that you got, to your journalism degree and everything, and you just pissed it all away over some weed. Wow. Man, I don't know about these youngsters, man. I just don't know. People are crazy these days. And that anchor, she was fumbling and bumbling. And like, can we play the anchor back?
We'll be right back. Pardon for us. Meanwhile, the Vote Yes on 2 campaign held a fundraiser last night with Gary Johnson, the CEO of one of...
Man, that's rough, man. That's brutal because she, like I said, she got thrown off like everybody else did. The director, news director, and the floor producer. And I don't know if they have a floor producer in Alaska. A lot of small market TV stations, they just get by with what they can. But somebody was there and she walked off like that. I was like, man, just go to commercial, man. I'll go straight to commercial. I'm picking hairs over here. So what do you got for me? Hey, that does it for the Tony Scott Internet Show for this. What is it today? Today is Tuesday. So I hope you have a great day. I hope you have a chance to share this, repost it on Facebook or Twitter or whatever your social media is. Call people and tell them. There's lots of places to hear it. I'm working on more. I'm going to try and get it up on iTunes ASAP. But in the meantime, again, thank you so much for sharing. A thumbs up on YouTube because it's also on YouTube. Just audio. I realize it's just audio, but it's also on YouTube. Would help a lot. And there's a tip jar actually up there on the video. Well, it's not the video, but it's the player, where you can tip me $1 or $5. You can do tip up to $500, although I don't expect that. But if you can spare something, fine. If you cannot, that's fine too. I just appreciate you listening. All right. I am Tony Scott, and I want you to have a great day. Thank you so much for your support, and I'll see you tomorrow.